So most times when people start having engine overheating issues, you find them beating about the bush, spending, taking unnecessary uh, duration of time, days, weeks, even months, trying to find the cause of the overheating or the cause of whatever the engine cooling system issue is going that is the vehicle is having. Wish you could have just spent a few minutes to detect the cause. Sometimes it takes just minutes to find what is faulty on the engine cooling system. Now, specifically, this video is about coolant shortages. Now, if you are experiencing coolant loss, shortage every now and then, you realize you're always um, topping up your coolant every few kilometer drive, every day, 2 days, few days or so. It means either the coolant is burning off to the combustion chamber or it's leaking out from somewhere. Okay, but then you also observe that people usually focus in the engine bay, trying to locate the source of the loss or the leak of the coolant wherever it's leaking from, not knowing that there are other areas that could the leak could be coming from or happening that's not in the engine bay. In this case, I'm talking about inside the vehicle. Now, why most times it's not easy for people to dictate the source of the leak or the coolant loss is because when you are using water instead of coolant, you may find it difficult to know where or yeah where the coolant is leaking from, depending on the extent of the leakage. Because when water comes out, let's assume the engine is hot and is leaking from somewhere, most times as coming out is evaporating, so it may not leave a mark. The coolant will leave a mark or a sign that something with a color something just is coming out from there. Now in this case, under the steering wheel or under the dashboard, as you are looking at on the screen, there's something we call heater matrix, heater core, depending on what you want. How it has like two names, heater matrix or heater core. So I'll stick with heater matrix. So the coolant from the engine bay comes into the vehicle, into the coolant matrix, then goes back to the engine. The just for you to, in case if you want to use heater, you can use it. That's just it. That's what that heater matrix is there to do. So over time, not I'm not saying in all cases that you must experience it on every vehicle, but most times they tend to fail and start leaking that heater matrix. It just looks like a AC evaporator, or if you don't know what AC evaporator is, let's just say radiator. The way radiator looks. So when it starts leaking, it'll be easier for you to see it even without you are getting a professional, a technician involved. It's easier for you to see, as you can see on this screen. Of course, it means the coolant on the vehicle that this picture was taken from was red. The coolant was red, so you can see it's very obvious. So once you see something like this under, it could be coming in from, it could be dropping on the driver's footwell or the front passenger side as well. So either way, you will see the color. It will just discolor it. If whatever color of that coolant is what is going to be. You just see a line of colored fluid somewhere under the pedals, around the pedals, or even the other side of the front side of the vehicle. That's the passenger side. So it could be green if it's green coolant, blue if it's blue coolant, red, pink, stuff like that. So that's the advantage of using coolant. So once you see something like this inside your vehicle, under in the front side, this is your source of the coolant. So in most cases, point is, let's assume this is the first time it's even happening, that you've not even had any coolant loss, you've not been topping up, the gauge has been always been correct, and suddenly you now notice, you open the door and now saw this thing under your footwear. You don't even need to guess whether it's from your coolant reservoir in the engine bay or something. You will know already. See, you are having a leakage. Right. So that's one of the advantages of using coolant rather than water. Water, it may take a while for you to notice that is actually leaking, because you may have to settle, keep doing and keep building up before you notice it. And sometimes you may even touch it and you may feel, oh, it could be maybe when you wash your vehicle, it didn't dry off. Maybe you cleaned the interior, it didn't dry off well, so that's why your carpet is still wet. Not knowing that truly it's actually from your heater matrix that the water you are using on the engine cooling system is leaking from, entering is settling on your carpet. So coolant will make it much easier for you to know, okay, this is where it's coming from, or this is what is actually going on. So at least now you can be able to trace and also understand stuff like this happen. This one of the areas you could be losing coolant. So now, how do you solve this problem? Personally, I adopt only one solution. There are about two ways that I know, but I adopt one, and this is it. So this particular on this picture is where the coolant goes into, from the engine bay, goes into the cabin that's inside the vehicle, enter the heater matrix, then comes back. Because it's as water pump is circulating the fluid, the coolant, it's also pushing it into the engine, into the vehicle. As the coolant is warming up, push it inside, brings it back in, so eventually it will become salt. So if you want the vehicle to to switch on the heater, then it will open. There's a way, there's an assembly under the dashboard that will control which one do you want, hot air or cold air. So it will close the one of the cold and allow the blower will blow through the heater matrix and push the hot air that is going into the heater matrix to blow into the vehicle. So this is the in and the out, supply and return line. So in this case, from this vehicle, there are two pipes. Could look different on depending on Peugeot vehicle. They are not the same design. So what I do in my case, once I observe that the problem is from the heater matrix, the cause of the leak, because it could make the vehicle overheat. Once if the coolant level drops too low, the vehicle will overheat. So in most cases, it may not overheat if you spot it on time. So what I do, I won't go and remove the dashboard, because the solution is not to remove the heater matrix and fix and repair. No, you have to replace it. So I won't, because of this, drop the dashboard, put another heater matrix mount, just for something I know majority of users, especially in the country like Nigeria, don't use. In fact, I'm looking at like 99.9% of Nigeria don't use this heater matrix because of our environment. It's not cold, that much. It's hot, but not that high. So in other words, you don't necessarily can, even if the weather is the temperature is ambient temperature is okay, not too hot. It's room temperature. You can use only your blower. You don't need to put on the compressor. You know. So I've never had seen a scenario in Nigeria where you need to switch on your heater. Well, it depends. I know there are some parts of maybe Nigeria that like Jaws that could be very cold. Maybe such places, but still, I would rather use the normal air without what's it called, the AC. Just switch on your blower. Unfortunately, there are some cars that you can't use you can't use once you switch on your blower, the compressor comes up. Cars like Peugeot 407. So in that case, that's very unfortunate. So you won't be able to use only your blower or the air without the AC from the outside air without the AC. So I won't go and drop the dashboard simply because I want to change the heater matrix to stop this leakage. What I do in my own case is I disconnect or stop this fluid from going into the cabin. Now, how do I do that? Like I said, it's supply return line in and out. So I would remove those two pipes or hoses that sends coolant into the cabin and out, or sends coolant to the heater matrix and back into the engine. Disconnect the two from this pipe. Depending on how many, there are like two ways you can do it. Remove the two pipes or hoses, find something, another pipe, then connect those two hoses together. Because like I said, heater matrix is like it's just like, it's not like if you go somewhere and stop. No, it's just like a pipe. Let's just say it's a pipe that goes around and comes back. So the supply line with just to send the coolant, it will keep going until it reach the end, then it turns back and goes back into the engine. So all you need to do is just do that, exactly that same thing, but it's just that you do it in the engine bay, no longer onto the or inside the vehicle or via the heater matrix. So all you need is just find something to reconnect those two hoses, or connect the supply and the return coolant line to the heater matrix out of the interior or inside the engine bay. You could get a pipe, maybe a metal pipe, cut it, the one that will size those hoses and join together. Or you could get a hose that is long enough to connect where the return line comes from to the supply line. So I won't have to, you leave these two holes. You can block it, use something else to cover them, but it's no longer going to. Or you can put but you can put something on these two holes or pipes to block those two holes on the pipes. Then connect back the hoses, the supply and return line on this pipe, so that whatever, maybe a plastic bag, so it won't pass through, fluid cannot pass through the holes on this pipe and enter the heater matrix. Whichever way, the most important thing is let it not enter them, so it will not affect the cooling system. It will still remain the same. Only difference is that you will probably will be able to use your heater anymore. Now, why I prefer this way is it's much less, you are likely not going to harm the vehicle doing this, because dropping the dashboard, you are likely going to create a problem. Trust me, I know people who have done it that eventually ended up creating problems. You dropping your dashboard to fix one problem, you create another problem as you are fixing the other. Not intentionally, but it does happen. Remember, if you are dropping your dashboard, you are going to pull out, you lose your AC. You have to disconnect your AC evaporator, so you lose all the gases. Pull out the evaporator assembly. It's a box, depending on the model. By the time you remove the heater matrix and put, you may create an AC leak on the evaporator, or the line that will connect back the pressure hose, AC lines via the expansion valve to the evaporator. You may start leaking, you start suffering AC issue, which was probably never there. Or you could drop your dashboard and mount it only for you to start hearing certain noise, that wasn't there before because it wasn't properly mounted. Or in the process of mounting it, they now didn't mount something worse, it started making noise. Or in the process of mounting this thing, they didn't position some of the wire, because when you drop that bar, you see a lot of wires under it or behind it. So if not properly arranged, those wiring harnesses, while mounting back the dashboard, it could go and start touching where you shouldn't touch, and then start having short circuits and here and there, things will start burning here and there. Or some of the switches may not be properly mounted and they may stop working. There's so many things that can happen when you bring down your dashboard and mount it back. May start hearing creaky, what's it called? Like creaking sounds, when you are driving on rough road. You'll just be hearing all kind of noise. So in that case, it will be it will come to a point almost every now and then you are dropping, removing, mounting back again, trying to solve problem that the previous person have done, just because you are trying to change something that you don't even use. Because like I say, you could see people in Nigeria that will drive a car for over 50 years. They've never on their heater. Never. They've never had a cost to use heater. So why go that extent trying to create a problem for a heater you probably never use? Alright. So but if you stay in a place where you really need to use the heater, well, that's a risk. It makes sense. You are justified to do that. Now, there are other reasons why people believe that they need the heater matrix or the coolant to be coming into the heater matrix. Some will claim, which I understand, that they need it in case the car start overheating, so that they can use the AC blower to add also blow air, I'll add to the cooling of the coolant. But I know you could also use a car for years. I've never had a cost to ever even use that. I mean, your car could be overheating, and even switching on the blower to the highest volume may not even solve the problem, depending on the nature of the overheating or what is causing the overheating. I mean, sometimes you can even do that to create, for example, for it to have any effect, you need to increase your AC blower speed to maximum, which most times damages the the resistor that controls the blower. If it's not the resistor, sometimes it will burn the relay or the wires that on the resistor, or even cut the fuse. Once it stays very high, that high speed for too long, it's not good for that system. So you may end up creating a problem. Trying to solve one overheating, you are creating another problem. There are so many ways you can even you drive a car that is overheating without need to touch that your heater bill. Me, I have driven cars that overheated. I mean, did a journey. I even did close to 9 or 700 or 800 kilometer journey with a car that was overheating. It was seriously overheating. Yes, I completed the journey, and it didn't burn the head gasket. I didn't even. It's a long story. Just to cut it short, I still did the journey without touching the heater matrix or touching the AC blower. So it's just that people are not experienced in driving. That's why they tend to, look for excuses. So it makes sense to say you want to do that, but then why bother about something that you may never experience? What makes you think someday your car must overheat? So because of that, you go and create a problem to for something that probably you never experienced throughout your ownership of that car. And if it does overheating, maybe something you could easily fix without the need to touch that. Or something that even your AC blower cannot fix. There's a stage of overheating that doesn't matter how many volume of air you are pushing to, you just keep pushing out. So I mean the temperature will just keep skyrocketing and keep going up. Depending, like I said, if you lose all your fluids, what difference does it make if you keep your blower running when there's no fluid self there? So many things that can, if your cylinder head is fucked already, doesn't matter if you keep or your gasket is already messed up. Keep doing that. It's bad already. The temperature will just keep shooting, no matter what you do. Even if you put on your radiator fan at higher speed, which automatically will come up, it will keep happening. So the only time I would personally, this is what I'll do. I'll cut off the supply of and the return of coolant into the heater matrix by doing what I explained before. Then the reason why I'll probably, apart from any other reason, but what will make me to recommend or to drop a dashboard is like if you have an AC issue and it has to do with your what's it called? Trying to remember mentioned it before. So you have to drop your trying to remember the name of this thing. That looks like heater matrix as well under your dashboard. If I remember, I'll call it under the dashboard. So if you have to drop, fine, you can now use the opportunity and change it too. Rather than, because that one you have no option. The only way to AC to gas will stop leaking is to drop your dashboard and change it. Then it make more sense. You have to risk it every other thing in case the other thing that happens, then you do. But if it's just for heater matrix that you probably will never use, what's the point? So I'll recommend don't go there. Or maybe there's another issue, or there's another reason you need to drop your dashboard apart from your AC. Fine, then you cannot use the opportunity and look for heater matrix. But remember that you are likely not going to get new. So it's going to be used one. And that used one means you may put it at risk and will also be leaking. Unless you have to test it off before you mount. You have to find a way to test it off the vehicle before you mount it. You could mount it and days or weeks or months or years later start leaking. People hardly buy new one. The marketers past sellers hardly stock new ones to sell because this is not something people bother to buy new or to replace. They don't. In fact, they only start leaking years after when the cars are probably aged. So not something I'll bother myself. That's the only time I'll bother. But see, if you like, go ahead and change it. But I'll just give you a solution. What I would do. If you live in a country, in an environment where truly the weather is most times cold, or there's a season that will be cold, yeah, go ahead and change it, because probably you need the heater sometimes. It makes sense if you can't do without heater. But where you don't need it, why have something that you probably will not use, or go and introduce problem to fix something that you will probably never use? Doesn't make any logical sense. But I know people, I don't know, they just keep making, I don't know. So just that people, like I said, most Nigerians enjoy abusing their vehicles. You see them telling you, the Peugeot cars are electrically troublesome. A teacher don't know how to fix them or diagnose the electrical issue. They are in the process of diagnosing, they are creating more problems electrically. But you see them going to the areas to create that problem. I know I was advising some people, do it this way. Don't bother to change your heater matrix. by remove the connection that brings it into the vehicle so that it won't be there. They kept telling me, but they need it in case the car start overheating. So they are ready, they are willing to let somebody mess up the electrical, or that may mess up the electricals, and then start crying that they messed it up, when it can actually be prevented for something they know they will probably never use. I mean, why project something you know when it comes to there, you deal with it. And if your vehicle system is intact, why bother overheating? You could use a car for years, 5, 10 years, and it will never overheat. And even if you overheat, it may be something that can easily be fixed without even bother to trying to drive the vehicle for long for you to start bothering about putting on your heater or your blower. You know. I don't know. People have different values. I don't feel comfortable removing dashboard. At least in my own vehicle, I don't feel comfortable because it's an area that is a complex place that you may never get it right once you do it. People that have experienced this will understand me. Once you drive your dashboard, most times you will just create a permanent issue that stays here throughout the lifespan of that vehicle. Which, if you have not gone to the dashboard, it will never come up. So try and avoid it. Give away whatever rationalization you have you want to fix. Try and avoid any reason that will take you there. Right? So I hope that makes sense. I didn't remember again the name of I know AC valve, expansion valve. Forgotten about that thing that is under the dashboard. I mentioned it earlier in this video. Anyway, you already know what some people in Nigeria call it AC fridge. It's kind of fun. Just can't remember it now, but you understand what I mean. So so that's one of the ways you can get it done. It's not a big deal. If you, like I said, if you do this thing, it will not affect your engine cooling system. Your car engine will still be running, the cooling system will still be running normal. Only difference is there won't be heater. There are some cars that have even electric heater, both the one for the coolant and the electric one. So the electric one might even work for you without the one that works, the heater, the one for electric, the coolant. The dirty may not be as hot as the coolant one. So I know back then in my 504G, then he had the electric one. I could remember. I think I've seen it. He had the electric heater matrix. Unless I'm not sure, but I know I saw it. Saw some electrical connection to it. I don't know, but I think so. So if your own has electric and it goes on, if you disconnect this one, if you put on your heater, you may still be getting some hot air, but it may not be as hot as the other. So you see something. I don't know. I can't remember. I don't know all the AC or heating ventilation system of all Peugeot vehicles, what they look like under the dashboard. So anyway, so that is it for this video, and I hope it makes sense.